Life Transitions radio talk show with yours truly, Coach Latoya, here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. Happy Saturday, my people. Happy May. Welcome to the month of May. Boy, this year is going by so fast, so fast. But we are just grateful to be here. And baby, it's almost summer, okay? So I hope y'all are ready. The spring is almost over and we are headed into summer. So happy Saturday. Thank y'all for listening again this week. Thank you for all of my listeners, actually, the ones that are tuning in every week. I'm receiving your messages, so thank you. I definitely appreciate all the feedback, all of those things. So today you're in for a really good treat. I always say that, but I have some good guests, y'all. I do. I have some really cool people that I get a chance to interview and get a chance to kind of delve into their lives and some of their transitions that they've gone through here or just sharing with you guys. So today I'm excited to bring you someone that I've known for a while. I actually used to work with her, so definitely a big fan of hers. She is representing Chicago, all right? Also, she is HBCU grad. I think I've, definitely been on a roll here with these HBCU grads. So she is a graduate of the Clark Atlanta University. So definitely love her. So please help me welcome to the show today, Miss Danielle Porter. Thank you,
Danielle. Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you. You have so many things going on in life and you've been through so many things. So I am honored to be able to share some of your stories, some of your transitions through life with our listeners today. So could you give them a little bit? I'm going to jump in with this conversation with Danielle, y'all, because we do have lots of transitions to talk about. But the first one that I want to talk about with you, Danielle, is you were adopted.
Yes.
Right. And so for all my folks out there that were adopted or even parents that's thinking about adopting, tell them a little bit about that process and what that was like for you as a child.
Yeah. So for me, I grew up, like you said, in the Southside of Chicago.
Oh, I had to get that part right.
Okay. Southside. And at that time, my mom, my biological mom, she was actually just had her own transitions in life herself, but she knew she wanted to give me and the 9 of my other siblings, it's 10 of us, our best shot, a good future. And during those days, she just shared it with people. She probably was like, I know I want Danielle to have a great mom, but it wasn't like super broadcast. And the day I was born, my mom called, who is biologically my cousin, and was like, hey, I want you to raise Danielle. And to this day, my mom, I call her mom as well, that raised me, she said, I just got up and came. So my adoption story very much, I would say, was divine. It wasn't as planned out or took as much preparation, at least humanly possible. But when my mom got to the hospital, she said she knew that I was her daughter, and they both were at peace with that. And further into my experience of being adopted, I knew who my mother was. So she was still in my life. They were neither one of them were uncomfortable with me calling them mom. I knew love in my family. So if anything, I'm so very grateful to be adopted. And if anyone is thinking about adoption or foster care, it truly transcends where that child can go. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that story. And I love that your cousin or mom, what you call mom, came in and said she knew right away, right when she saw you. And there is definitely, I love that. I always feel like every child needs love, right? And
truly.
These kids don't ask to be born into the world. And so I love that there are adults out here that are stepping up. And they're stepping up and saying, hey, you know what? I can help you through this because, there's lots of things happening in life, right? And sometimes all kids don't get that experience.
Right.
Which is why I became a foster parent as well. So I definitely understand and
Amazing.
have love there. So thank you for sharing that. Sharing that story. So you raised in Southside Chicago.
Yeah.
Tell me how you got your way down to Clark Atlanta.
Listen, so I was taught, my 5th grade teacher, she's my favorite teacher ever. She went to historically Black college as well. I can't remember which one, but she just talks so highly about a Black given education and just the purpose and the transition it made in her own life. So it was kind of like grilled and drilled into me when I was young. And so when it was time for us to move and start looking at different colleges, I wanted to originally, oh, don't fight me, people, go to Spelman. I was like, oh, it's all girls school. Me and a friend at that time, we made a pact. We're going to go to Spelman. And my aunt, she came into my life just right about around the time I was graduating. She was like, okay, I'm going to take you to Atlanta. We have family in Atlanta. We're going to make this a whole trip. Went for the visit, y'all. Spelman College, love y'all, was closed. They was closed. Nothing was there. Nobody was there. Like, we had an entire tour scheduled. And it was like, so where do we go? And not trying to waste the day, we was like, okay, let's think of some plans. And as we were walking back to what I know now as Clark Atlanta's parking lot, we had to pass through the Great Promenade. Okay.
Hey.
And okay, if you know, you know. And it was a student, and they were like, hey, do you know where this building was? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't go here. And they were like, oh, you look like you do. And I'm just so big on like this, what we call at Clark Atlanta, the spirit of greatness, that meant something to me. And then when I applied, Clark Atlanta was the only institution out of Chicago and Iowa that accepted me. And I was like, I'm going, I'm doing it. It's hot down there. I love it.
I love it. Listen, you didn't even know about the promenade, and you was on the promenade, didn't even know it. But when you came back, and
right, I belonged here. I made my choice.
I love it. I love it. It's so, I always say it's really inspiring to see educators, teachers, continue to expose, students to HBCUs, because a lot of them are, not getting the support. And, I'm a, proud Rattler for sure, but I support all HBCUs.
Yeah.
I got love for Clark Atlanta as well. And Spelman, I got some love for Spelman.
Yeah, same.
But I love that the educators continue to expose students and let them know that they have options, right?
It's a big deal.
It is. And I'm sorry, the HBCU experience is just different, right?
Different.
It's different. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
And so I know exactly what you were feeling when that person said, you look like you go here, right?
Yeah.
It gave you some type of sense of belonging, right? Mm-hmm. All of those things. So that's cool. So you matriculated through Clark Atlanta.
Made it out.
Got that degree.
Shout it on the stage.
Tell me about this next transition.
So at that time, I really wanted to get my master's in business. So I was studying so hard for my GMAT. And unfortunately, but fortunately, I did not pass twice. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I was helping out a friend, and she started doing some volunteer work for an AmeriCorps program called City Year. If you're familiar with kind of Teach for America, it's the same format. And I was like, what do I have to lose? Let me apply. And during the application and interview, they share with me like, hey, Danielle, you'll be able to work with students, which I love. Also, they are partnered with 1,300 institutions that are willing to give a student free of tuition, merit scholarships, free room and board. So to me, I'm like, oh, well, if I do get this GMAT correct, I ain't got to pay for school. And so everything just was looking up. And another piece, they were like, you have the ability to create after school programs that can continue on. And my heart has always been in community work and giving back. So I was like, let's go. And they chose Dallas, Texas for me. So I was a Texian, a Tejan, okay, for 18 months.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love how I love that you're a risk taker, right?
Yeah.
And everybody doesn't have that, but I love that you are a risk taker and you are okay being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
You're not looking for that, to be content and to be very comfortable in spaces. And so I love that about you. So you're like, you're from Chicago, you already moved to Atlanta. So you're like, all right, I'm just heading to Texas, right?
Listen, and like, just to that point, Latoya, excuse me, the power of that is when I was young, my auntie always, she said, Danielle, if you don't have children or a husband just yet, take every opportunity. If you're safe and you're covered, take every opportunity. So I just held that close, and I'm like, well, I'm going to see the world. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I had a professor, Professor Ravenel back at FAMU, who always told
Yeah.
us, he said, take a job that's far away, right?
Yeah.
Go far, far, far away. My other Dr. Tompkins always said that as well, but take a job far away because they were like, if you're close to home, you're comfortable, right?
Yep. Yep.
And the people that perform the best in their job typically aren't the ones that are comfortable and close to home,
It's a
right?
fact. It's a fact.
Because they're up against all kinds of adversities and challenges and trying to learn new
Right.
things that they can be extremely focused in on the job. So I had a professor that shared that with me as well, and I think
Yeah.
it's really good advice for young folks out there that just want to like stay home. Like, oh no, I want to graduate and I'm gonna move back home. And I
Go.
get it. There's a sense of comfort there, right? There's like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I know the people, I know this, I can
I
go
had no
here,
bills.
but there is no feeling like being in a brand new place
At
and you
all.
don't know anyone.
Anyone.
You don't know anybody. And
It's
you
special.
actually get to then control your environment, who you
Yeah.
engage with, right? Who you become friends with.
Yep.
So I've had that before, and it sounds like you had that moving on over to Texas as well. So
Grateful for it.
yeah, so tell me about Texas. I need to know about
Woo!
Texas. I need to know how it went. What was his first job like?
So this job, it was an amazing job. So I actually got to work hand in hand with the students and the teachers of DISD. Shout out to DISD, Dallas Independent School District. All right. But it was the first time, if I'm being honest, that my little, not little, but my comfortable Black bubble, my Black culture was disrupted. I thought, only people that looked like me were oppressed or were um, judged before they were even given the chance. And as you know or don't know, Texas is a predominantly Hispanic culture and population. So through my students, I learned so much more. It makes me think about the movie Selena, and the dad was like, we have to be more Mexicans than the Mexicans and more American than Americans. And it was so true when, just trying to get one of my students to class and increase their attendance or trying to get them enrolled in school. And I was faced with norms in their culture of like, hey, my son, he did all right till, let's say, up to sixth grade. He doesn't have to go to high school. And it was just such a cold water was splashed on my face. And it was like, so now, Danielle, how do we advocate, right? Like, I believe wholeheartedly to advocate for young girls that look like me, but how do I advocate for people that do not look like me, but still have similar walks? So it also humbled me. I did amazing work with the school, but that piece has just been invaluable to me to like, how can I advocate for someone next to me? Yeah.
Yeah. And let's go back to that piece about the movie piece, right? The movie reference.
Yeah.
And how many people go through that, right?
Daily.
Think about how many people every day that's living in an environment where they feel like you got to be more Mexican than the Mexicans.
Yeah.
And you got to be more American than the Americans, right?
It's tough because it's like you're fighting an internal fight. There might already be a fight that I have to prove to my boss, to my teacher, whomever. And then it's like there's this internal fight that I have to prove that I'm worthy of, a flag or of and it's always a battle, and it's just unfortunate. And I think no one should be alone in that. But yeah, it's a common unfortunate story that's happening.
Yeah, but think about what it does to someone's identity.
Right.
Like think about what that does. And this could be, I mean, you're talking about a specific situation in Texas, but I'm thinking like
Mm-hmm.
open this up. I mean, you think about people that are biracial, right?
Right.
I have biracial friends that feel like when they're with Black people, they feel like they got to be more Black than you, right? In order
Right.
to be accepted. But then when
Yeah.
they get to the white side, they can't be too Black, right? They got to be,
Woo,
so
right.
it's almost like we put this, pressure
Mm-hmm.
on people to feel as if that they gotta fit in into
Yeah.
all of these different environments versus just being themselves. So think
Yeah.
about the mental impact
Mm.
that could have on somebody that's just trying to figure out, I'm just me, right?
Yeah.
I'm just me. I just want
At
to be me.
12, at
Right.
14, 16.
Oh, oh, and right, to think about it
Yeah.
as children, right? To
Yeah.
think about it in a, that type of environment, it's even worse because we got adults that's dealing with it. But what about some of these kids that's trying to deal with it in the school system. So kudos to you for kind of advocating and being able to see them for who they are, and then help them to kind of overcome those things. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that story. Any advice for anyone out there kind of struggling with these issues?
Yeah, I would just suggest, find your common ground. I think for my students, what we came to the place of was the love of music. And so during their lunch breaks, we had the opportunity, like, we were going to play some music. Like, we wanted them to enjoy their passing time and their lunchtime. And we had it open for them to share whatever. And I know that can be tough, right? Like, somebody for me, like, I grew up a lot on heavy gospel music, and I'm like, oh, does anybody like this? And so I would just share with them, like, hey, like, I know you probably don't know this song, but I'm gonna play it. And it just opened them up, and it helped them to be seen. Like, even if there are students that didn't understand, or adults that didn't understand, I'm seen on this playlist. Like, Miss Danielle understood me. And I think just find that common ground.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what did this do for you? What did this do for you? Because you're young, you're a college graduate. What did it do for you for seeing this and being able to make that impact for for you?
Yeah, for me, I always say I still got my background of Southside, so it just ignited a very, like, you are not gonna try a child in front of me. Like, it just put that inside of me. Like, every child, to your point, I mean, of earlier, like, it really takes somebody to step up. It doesn't have to be grand, or we think it's not grand, but it's so grand to them. So it just, like, fired up that battery. Like, a child ain't gonna be tried on my watch. If I know anything of anything, on my watch, it will not be tried. So it just fuels that a little bit more.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay. So how long were you in Texas?
18 months. So the 6 year, the contract year, serve year, was for a full year, 12 months. And then again, just so grateful for the leadership there. They asked me to come on as their attendance clerk and then registrar assistant. So to just help the kids stay in school. So I stayed there for another 6 months. But God bless all of our educators. I needed a little more money. And again, at that time, I no longer was seeing, I wanted to go into grad school, So I started to apply. I wanted to enter corporate America. I knew I wanted to also utilize my degree, right? Like, we have student loans, we have these years we put in, and that's where I wanted to go. So I stuck my head in and applied, and was brought into an amazing company. So yeah, left Texas and moved to Jersey.
Oh, wow. Okay. So before we bounce to Jersey, real quick, let's touch on something quickly here. You're a graduate, college graduate, right? You had your degree. You got this first job, you got some really good experience, right?
Right.
But can we touch on the fact that educators don't make enough money?
At all.
Can we touch on that a little bit? Because educators are so important for our children, right? And I never understood this. Like, I've always been like, this is crazy. Like, these people are literally responsible for teaching our kids. They are literally, the future of this country.
Literally.
And I don't think we value, I don't think we respect educators enough.
I agree.
And look, because that could have been your career, right?
Right.
That could have been your career. But the one thing that took you out of there was
the pay. Yeah. And it's so unfortunate, because to that point now, I think back to my mom. She always gave my teachers around Christmas or breaks. She was like, give these chocolates to your teacher. Give these. And I'd be like, Miss Girl, why is we doing all this? But now it's like, just acknowledgement. Like, even if we can't change the pay, which it needs to be changed, whoever is in charge, but like, parents or just coworkers, please acknowledge your teachers. Because to your point, they do not just do math, reading, and ink. Like, they're just so span of what they give to a child. And that's just a child. Right. Imagine a classroom of children, and on top of what they have to administratively do, it's God bless them all. Yeah, but they deserve better. They deserve a whole lot better.
Absolutely. So any teachers out there, we love you, we respect you. Definitely we are advocating for all teachers, that you definitely get what you deserve, because
Yes,
like you said, they not focus on one child or even a classroom, but guess what? They do this every year. Every
every
year
year.
these kids change. So just think
Yeah.
about the number of kids that they've been able to impact year
Uh,
over year over year. So I have a very special place in my heart for educators, teachers,
Truly.
anyone that's out there influencing our youth, because they are our future. They are,
They are.
and lots of times I know, we see like NFL drafts and the drafts, and you'll see
Right.
these athletes that's saying, hey, this one teacher, right? It was always
Right.
this one teacher. And so I thank God for those, because unfortunately all teachers aren't like that. And I get it, right? They don't make
Yeah.
enough money. Like, oh my God, I got to do this or that. So I
Isn't
do
that
want to
amazing
say,
though?
huh?
I was just saying, isn't that amazing? Like everybody can remember their favorite teacher
Oh
and you
yeah.
can remember your worst teacher. Like that's how influential a teacher is.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So thank you, Danielle,
Yeah.
for making that trip to
Oh,
Texas, right? And
yeah.
being able to have that impact in the lives of those students, advocating for them, like you said, to, be on time and have perfect attendance and all of those things. So just want to say thank you for that. So give us
Y'all.
a quick little, how did you get to Jersey? All right. You said, hey,
Right.
I'm good here. Well, tell us about this transition. What were you applying for? How did that go?
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to work in consumer goods, right? Like since I was young, I would never forget my high school teacher, and he did a class on marketing. And I was like, I want to impact household families. Okay, how are household families impacted? Well, they always need a consumer product. If it's a cleaning product, if it's grocery. So I knew I wanted to be in that arena. And one of my friends who also I went to college with, she was at a company, and I was like, share with me that culture. And believe it or not, I had an interview with somebody of a talk show, I don't know, that prepped me back when I was at Clark Atlanta University and just had mock interviews and did that preparation. So I applied and had the interview with her as well as one out of my few interviews. And I was like, yeah, that's where I belong. And so
I
got
love
the job.
it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give people a little backstory. I'm gonna let you in on a secret
Give them
here.
the tea. Give them the
So
tea.
I have a passion for helping college students transition, of course, like
Yeah.
transition from student to professional. And so Danielle was one of the folks. I used to go on campuses and do a lot of mock interviews. Like I didn't necessarily want them to just prepare for an interview with my company. I
Right.
was there because I just wanted them to be prepared for any interview, right?
Mm,
I just like,
yeah.
all right, let's just do some mock, let's get you prepared for it. So that's what Danielle's talking about at Clark Atlanta. Like I said, I got love for CAU, spent a lot of years there,
Yeah.
helping those students prepare. And so Danielle happened to be one of the folks that was a part of the mock interviews. Myself, I think Norris, right, was with me.
Yep.
And shout out to
Oh,
Norris. Yeah.
that is so crazy.
Yeah, it's been a long time ago, but
Ah,
so that's what she is referring to there. And then I don't know who introduced you directly to the company, but I had a chance to interview her for my company. So I was definitely
right.
glad to see that full circle moment come
Yes.
and help her, get into this organization and head up to New Jersey. So we're gonna take a quick break. We getting folks a lot, but there's
Right.
more to come here with Danielle. She's gonna talk about some transitions throughout corporate, transitions out of corporate, and then
Yeah.
Danielle has also started and created and founded a nonprofit organization that we want to talk about. So we'll be right back. We'll listen to a little bit of music and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Life Transitions Radio Talk Show with yours truly, Coach Latoya, here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. This broadcast is being brought to you by Shop with Be Queen, an online boutique for fashion, beauty, and business. Boutique style products are limited to keep your style unique and one of a kind. So you can visit them at shopwithbequeen.com. That is shop with B E E Queen.com. All right. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We've heard from Danielle. We've heard about her stories as a child, the transition to Clark Atlanta, and then also her time in Texas and the impact that she was able to make there. And now she has landed herself in New Jersey. She has a new role. And I was so fortunate to be able to work with her during this time. So Danielle, tell me, when you got the jersey, how was
Yeah,
it?
let me tell you, that was a culture shock. Okay, like they have this thing called jug handles when you drive. You cannot make a left turn. It is not a thing in New Jersey. Okay, so you take the jug handle to make a left. That was new. You cannot pump your own gas,
Oh,
y'all. And I'm not even complaining, but the first interaction I had, again, I am from the Southside of Chicago, and this man, they kept asking to pump my gas. I'm like, no, I got it. He's like, it's my job. I'm like, how? So that was an experience, but Jersey was my first introduction to leading my life by myself. I was living alone, had a nice, good income that you had to now manage. So Jersey was good and sweet to me. It was good.
good. So tell us about the transition from being an educator over into kind of the consumer goods world.
Yeah, you know what? It was a beautiful transition because of the culture in the company that I was in. They were very, very hands on. I had a phenomenal trainer. Oh, I believe she's an educator herself, but she was very clear on where we were going, but very graceful in taking the steps towards that place. So my training was good. It was like dusting off a little bit of what I learned at Clark Atlanta University. So I was still prepared, but yeah, I was supported. I was supported by my leadership. So it was good. It was a good transition.
Nice. So
Yeah.
in the role, what was like some of the bigger highlights? Like what are some of the greater success that you had in this particular job?
Oh man. So being in New Jersey and East Coast, we had, how do I frame this? Independent business accounts. And with that, if you're in sales, you can almost do as you please with those accounts. It's heavily saturated with people partnership. So I am a people person. I love people engagement. And it just took so much of me learning who the account managers were to see how I can meet their needs. And so my greatest accomplishment was just bringing their sector, increasing their sector more than they were in the past 2 years that territory, excuse me, in New Jersey was covered. So that for me was just like impactful. It made a name for myself. I believe like I can handle an independent account. You know what I'm saying? Like we had corporate accounts that kind of already had their bread and butter, but I was able to grow this sector that has not been as successful in the past. So that was one of the greats. Like, love it.
Yeah, and like she you downplaying a little bit because it was very challenging to be
It was
successful in that area, right?
truly
This wasn't like easy sales, like you really did
right,
have to build some good relationships. They had to trust you.
right,
So it wasn't something you had to just come in and you were going to be successful with. So she
true.
downplaying a little bit, y'all, but because it definitely took some work,
It did.
some building a foundation and kind of starting, at the bottom in order to really be successful with
True.
those accounts. So
Yeah.
she's building some, things there. So okay, so you had some good successes and
Yes.
met some good people and all of that
Yes.
good stuff. But what led you to transition out?
Yeah, so I actually turned 5 years with the company the top of this year in January. And throughout my time there, there was so many opportunities for advancement within the company, even within our parent company, their parent company at that time, excuse me. But I am so big on kind of what I shared earlier before break, like my spirit has to feel right with it. I'm big on being led to an opportunity because I think we can be great at so many things. Like I can bake some cookies, but it's not time for me to open a shop. That's just not what I'm called to do. So I wanted to make sure I was still following my heart through and through. And actually, kind of like two sides to the same coin, one of the other highlights of being a part of this role in this company, I had the opportunity to understand what my gifts and passions were and how I can align that with what I do in my everyday work. And for me, that came out to be creativity and you guessed it, advocacy for people. And within my last year, I actually went through 5 amazing yet different leaders that I started to learn like, hey, I am continually advocating for myself, which is nothing wrong with that, but it became more of the job than the job itself. And I recognized I had to advocate a lot more for my peers. So I was met with like, oh, this is a passion question, Danielle. Like, this isn't a capabilities of the role. So after, yeah, I had to make a good conversation with me and the Lord, or he had one with me, I should say. And we chose to exit. I chose to exit.
Mm. How did that come
Yeah.
about? Because there had to be some things going on right
Yeah.
there that kind of led you there. So tell me about what was happening January, February timeframe.
January, February timeframe, I started to notice that I was showing symptoms of depression. A lot of my natural routine was not the same. Thank God for my community. Y'all have good people near you that know you. They were like, Danielle, I think you are burning from both ends. And I started to kind of digest that and look inward. And even my final conversations with my leader at that time, my people leader, was like, hey, I think you're unhappy in this role. And so it took I went on a beautiful retreat with some of my mentors, and they just kind of walked me through it and took away, I think, the fear of exiting, because I didn't even see leaving this job as an option, right? Like, for if anybody is familiar with me, like as a Black girl, you're taught go to school, get your grades, do this, stay out of trouble, don't be with the boys. Like, it was in my brain, I have to be on this ladder, I have to be on this way of advancement to be successful. So leaving the ladder never was an option for me. And I think and even down to, my account managers, my customers were even like, hey, Danielle, like, you're greater than what you do, and what you bring to us is more than just sales, is more than just that level of impact. And so you got to listen to the people that love you, right? And know what you can do well, even if you're afraid. So that, all those conversations, all of the support of my community, and just again looking inward, like, hey, I'm tired every single day and weekend. Something's got to change. I got to choose me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
thank you for being vulnerable and open about that, because I always tell people that, when you can't make sense of what's going on, where you're like, what's
Mm-hmm.
wrong with me? Depression is real. And a
Very.
lot of people don't want to admit that that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so how do you get there? How did you
Right.
say, I think I'm depressed? Like, how did you get to acknowledging that feeling?
Right. So I did experience depression before. And to your point, it's never verbalized that it's depression. It's like, okay, well, I got to get up. Or even if you are a believer, right, you can't say you're depressed, because now that means you're not believing in God, which is such a lie for the listeners. But getting to that place, like, what I started to notice, okay, Danielle, every weekend you are asleep. You are sleeping. We're not going out. Like, I just didn't want to go out. And again, I didn't notice it until after February, but I had to dial back. Like, I haven't gone out any weekend. Then when I would spend time with my community, I thought that was going to fill me, and I still felt unsatisfied. Okay. So that's what's going on. Also, I mean, down to I had like 3 weeks of a pile of clothes just stacked up. And I'm like, Danielle, like, it's like one of those conversations, like, that isn't my norm. Okay. Like, I wasn't working out, I didn't have any sunlight, and I was okay with that. And that's where the alarm came off for me. Like, I'm typically not okay with that. So just looking at your everyday things, if something is off, something is off, and that's okay. And we just got to find the answer of why.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, because anybody out there, listeners, like, believe me, depression is real and it's normal. Like, if you got a lot going on, like, don't feel like it is, something taboo, like, oh gosh,
Right.
because there's lots of communities out there that will make you feel like, oh, if you're depressed and you're crazy, right? Or you're,
Right.
whatever. And that's not the case at all. There's a lot of people walking around here depressed, and they're
Yeah.
either in denial about it, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
not getting the
Mm-hmm.
help that they need. And they're not doing the things that they need to do to kind of get out of that. So
Right.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing some of the signs that you
Absolutely.
saw. And I'm hoping that, if there are listeners out there, if you guys are feeling those things, reach out to your community, reach out for help. You're not alone. Lots of people are
No.
going through these feelings. So kudos for you for recognizing that. How'd this conversation go with the folks that you kind of built some really good relationships with within the company when you're ready to leave?
Yeah.
How did that go?
It was tough. So I think, right, I became very sure that God told me to leave. And to be honest with you, I prayed, honestly, the last year I prayed heavily for my leadership in general, because regardless of what I felt like I wasn't led correctly, being a leader is hard. So I knew that. And so I just wanted to cover them in that. But the conversation, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a believer in the sandwich method. Okay. So when I shared it with my people leader, I just, thanked him for the good that he's done, because, even with the way he managed me, if it wasn't for the discomfort, if it wasn't for negative reinforcement that he used, I would not have had the passion to advocate for people, which then led me to make the decision to leave. So I shared that with him. Like, I'm just grateful for him as my leader. And then I sandwiched it. I hit a Shark Tank line. And for those reasons, I'm out. Okay. and surprisingly, I wasn't expecting it, but I was met with, he was sad. He was sad that I was leaving and that I was going. And I think, he understood, and he's always shared, he understood my talent and what I brought to the team. But he also met me with understanding, like, that was a big decision, and those decisions don't come lightly. So I still was affirmed in that way. And so I was grateful that I had that conversation with him. Same with my leader. My director, excuse me. I had the same director all 5 years, and I considered him like a big dad to me, a big papa. And I thought he was going to be disappointed, but he met me with, like, Danielle, it's time. He was like, I'm not worried about you. He was like, you are going to do everything great. And he said something to me that really stuck. He was like, Danielle, you are 10 years ahead of what I'm understanding, is that you do not need these companies. The companies need you. And for my director to say that, I was like, oh, I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was my leadership. And as far as my customers, they were sad. They were like, okay, so who's about to do what you do? And I'm like, y'all be nice.
Nobody.
Right. But they were so supportive. They're still in the area. So I really left with more support that I expected to have, or at least I thought it would only come from friends and family. But to have that send off was just a blessing to me.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you said something there that I really like, and that is, sometimes people feel like they have to stay with these companies because
Yeah.
they need the company. But
Right.
more than likely, if you've been around for a while, you have skill sets, you have
Yep.
expertise that they need. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what your director, who's also, I'm a big fan of him as well.
Yeah.
That's what he meant, is that they need you. So
Right.
you can take these talents anywhere, honey.
Anywhere.
Okay? Like, you can drop these
Anywhere.
talents anywhere and be
Anywhere.
successful. And that's what I would love for people to understand, is like, you're not married to these companies, because baby, believe when they ready to get rid of you,
Hello.
when
No
it's
question.
time to do some layoffs or whatever, or
Cut
restructure,
through
and they ready to get rid of you, believe me, they don't need a whole bunch of reasons at all.
at all.
But we tend to feel like, oh, we have to stay, we have to
Right.
climb the ladder and that sort of thing. And that's not always the case, right?
No.
Because, and I always say, and there was one of my mentors years ago, a female mentor years ago, that always said, is that when you leave a job, they can always replace you, right? They're going to always
Mm-hmm.
replace you, but no one will ever do that job like you, right?
No
Because
one.
they're not you. And that's
Yep.
why when your customer's like, who's going to come in and do this? Nobody. No one is going to do. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to like be like,
Right.
oh my
No.
God, but that's the truth, because
It is.
they're not going to have your personality. They're not going
Nope.
to have your skill set, so they can learn the job. They can learn the basic
For
things
sure.
about it. But the things that make you different in a job has everything to do with you being you.
Yep.
That is the reason why I'm like, nobody. Okay, nobody
True.
replace you, right?
True.
So anyway, so I say all that to say is that when you're in these roles, please believe that you
Yeah.
have more power
True.
and you have more
Oh,
leverage
that's so
than
good.
than you think. Than,
That's so good. You have
so
more power. Oh, that was good.
yeah, you do. You
Oh, that was
do.
good.
Okay, so you sandwiched it. I love that. If you guys know
Yeah.
what the sandwich approach is, you start with something good, you put the bad stuff in the middle, and then you put you end with something good. Don't listen.
Right.
Somebody taught you well. Now that's
Yeah.
good. That good sandwich approach. That's how you have good conversations with people.
Yes.
You
Yes.
got to put a little bad news in there. You
Yes.
sandwich it and be good to go. So you
Yes.
had those. You exited the company. Now what? What we doing? What we got going on?
Listen to your last point. We have the power and I have these talents. And I have to sit back and like think like, Danielle, people always since college have asked me to edit their resumes, to look over their document, what this email say. I mean, down to Instagram captions. And my lovely financial advisor, she was just like, Danielle, let's also think about additional income because we did exit. All right. So when I did that, I'm like, I am going to provide that as a service. Like, I have a trusted credibility. I'm often always brought upon in these situations for my creativity, for my word usage. Like, why should you not, to your point, be getting paid for your skill set? So I have now opened my own platform, my own shop on Fiverr or Fever, I'm unsure how to pronounce it. But I am Porterhouse D, and I am editing, rewriting resumes. I even optimize LinkedIn accounts, stuff that I just genuinely love and have fun with. I do interview prep. So yeah, like I am now again back to advocating for people, right? I want to advocate and make sure I'm standing in the gap for people as they enter the workforce, right? And then because I think we will have a resume, right? And it looks so good, but do you know what those words are? Do you believe in what is said there? Do you feel like you can sell it? I mean, it shouldn't even be sell it. It should be you just being you, right? So I bring that different factor to it. And also, if I'm prepping you and while you're in your role, hey, Danielle, help me figure out what gifts and talents that I have so that I can align what I do, right? Like, I was successful, yes, because of my education, yes, because of my trainers, but it was instead of me looking at, how can I sell this to, I know I'm creative and I know that I love advocating for people. So tell me what you love to do and what you like about your store. Okay, now I can creatively use that to fuel the sale. So I just think like, and that'll take away so much headaches. We aren't showing
Yes.
up as somebody else. We show up as us. So
Yes.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
what's
yeah.
the Fiverr fee? What's the you said D Porterhouse? What?
Yes, let me get it correct. Okay. I don't want y'all to go to nobody but me. Okay, but it is Fiverr. It's going to be Porterhouse DEE. That's with two E's. And that should take you there. I don't know
Okay,
the numbers,
Porterhouse
but that
D.
should take you there. Porterhouse D.
Porterhouse D. Okay, cool. So this is like a sweet spot for me, right? Because
Yes.
I love that you are helping folks, helping people transition and tap into a lot of these things because it's needed. The
Yeah.
passion, my heart is there with you. And I just love this. I love this for you. I already know this is going to open up some other things. This is just the
No.
beginning for you. So
I'm
I'm
excited.
so excited
Me too.
excited for this new venture. So before we leave, we have
Yes.
to talk about this nonprofit. And
Ah,
please tell us how it started.
so You Go Girl Leadership Institute is my nonprofit. It started honestly out of the pandemic, and I was helping my younger sister apply for colleges herself. And I'm like, nowhere on this list is there a HBCU. You got to be kidding me. And so I just started pulling together with my creativity. I'm like, I know friends over here. I know phenomenal professionals that can help you apply for colleges. How about I put together a conference just to help my little sister, my mentee at that time, have a well-rounded search. And so from doing that, when I would call different people to be a part, they're like, Danielle, are you charging people for this? Or Danielle, what company is this through? And I'm like, y'all, I'm just doing it for my little sister. And I will never forget my good friend to this day, who also was a Clarkite. She said, Danielle, I think you are going to start understanding why God blessed you with your network and with your story. And before I knew it, God revealed to me like, hey, I've always wanted to have an organization that shined the light on adopted and foster girls, that streamlined opportunities directly to them. Because I had someone when I was younger say I only got a scholarship because I was adopted. And I said, well, let's change the narrative of that. What's wrong with that? Yeah, we're going to have scholarships. We're going to have these programs that are specifically for them. And so started out of the pandemic, and we're 4 years old now, still helping girls with historically Black colleges and universities, making them aware, and so many other programs. But that is how she started.
Nice. So I love that you were just trying to help, right? And that's so funny because I think that's how we run into and trip over a lot of ideas and businesses and stuff like that. It's because you're like, I'm just trying to help her. And
That's
then
it.
it turns into this whole nonprofit where you're exposing children, youth, whatever, high school students to HBCUs. And I remember you said earlier, you had an educator that did that for you, right?
Yes.
So now it's like you're paying it forward, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason I say that is because that is so needed.
It is.
When someone does that for you, that's why I always tell people, I do a lot of things in life because someone else did it for me, right? I, got scholarships and all that. My mom at the time was a high school graduate, right? She hadn't even been to college, but she was like, oh, we're going to apply for this. We're going to do this. We're going to, so it was like, then I get the fam and I get these professors who I still talk to today, like literally I can so right now, like, hey, that also like really had an impact. So I always say, if someone took the time to make that big of an impact on your life, right? You got to pay it forward. You got to find somebody else to invest in. And I'm not saying you got to, be on a grand scale and do a whole nonprofit, but, one or two things. So I love that you've turned this into a whole nonprofit organization that you can now help many girls, not just your mentees. You can help all kinds of little girls now.
Yeah.
The You Go Girl Institute. So yes. I love that.
Thank you.
Thank
you for calling that out.
Yeah. Now, how can people support You Go Girl?
Yeah, so you can support us at our website, You Go Girl Today. So everything is spelled out, YOU, YouGoGirlToday.org. We have a link there that you can give. You can also sign up and be a volunteer. If you want to follow us and keep up to date with us, we also have social media platforms on TikTok and Instagram, and that's going to still be the same as You Go Girl Leadership Institute. Everything spelled out.
I love it. Yes. Please. Go support. I love this. I love that these girls are going to have an opportunity just to get some exposure, right? Because we're not making the decisions for you, but I know if they took a trip to an HBCU campus, almost any HBCU campus, right? There is a feeling. There is a spirit. There is it's a movement that you just can't explain. You can't explain it. I don't even know how to describe it because I know when I first
you got to be there.
Yeah, you're right. You just got to be there. You got to be there, and there's gonna be so many things happening and so many things going on that you're gonna feel connected to. So I appreciate you. I thank you. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners? Anything that you want to share about any of your transitions? Any kind of life messages that you want to share, that you've encountered, that you want to share?
Yes. I came up with this quote the other day, and I just want to say, being successful is increasing your grace while you decrease your excuses, by being consistent with that every single day. I think I'm in the season right now. I'm being more graceful with myself, but I show up with the same commitment and I decrease excuses every day. So that is being successful. If you are in transition, I got to get this, I got to do this. Just increase your grace and decrease your excuses and keep your commitment consistent.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Yes. Increase your grace.
Yes.
decrease your excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's good right there. Oh, that's real good. Well, Danielle, thank you. Thank you so
you.
much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your experiences for our listeners to hear about your transitions, the things you're doing. And y'all, please go support the You Go Girl Institute, YouGoGirlToday.org.
Yes.
And also find her at D Porterhouse. What is it?
Porterhouse D on
Porterhouse
fire.
D. Now get that right. Porterhouse
And You
D.
Go Girl on Instagram is my page. You Go Girl. So
Okay.
everything out.
There you go. Okay. So please go support her in these endeavors. Again, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. All right, y'all. This is gonna wrap us for today. Happy May. Hope you have a great Saturday. We are on every Saturday. Don't forget every Saturday, Life Transitions Radio Talk Show here with yours truly, Coach Latoya. So be sure to follow me on IG at 7-Step Transition. That's the number 7. Facebook is the same thing. So you can stay up to date on all our live broadcasts. So tune in every Saturday. You got us on Apple Music. You got us on TuneIn Radio. The station is WDRB Media. You can also listen at WDRmedia.com. Click on the Listen Live logo. So we are WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We'll see you next week, y'all.